Welcome to Lindamood-Bell Radio. I'm Dave Hungerford. Lindamood-Bell helps students catch up and thrive in reading, comprehension, and math, no matter their age or ability. Our evidence-based instruction is one-to-one, tailored to the unique needs of each student. Contact us to get started. We can make the difference of a lifetime for your student. Lindamood-Bell.com or call us at 800-300-1818. Today's episode is a conversation I had with Tony. He's a retired military personnel and a part-time actor. Here it is. How was the movie shoot last week?
It was a lot of fun. I always have a blast on set. I do it because I like watching, a movie come together more than whatever little insignificant part that I have in a movie.
And you've been doing this for a while?
Yeah, somebody reminded me that I started because I lost a bet, and a buddy of mine said, "You ought to be on House of Cards. You look like a politician." I was like, "That's not a very nice thing." So I went ahead and I was on that show for 2 years as a White House reporter, and then ever since then, since 2014, whenever a gig comes up, they'll email me and say, "Are you interested?" And only in the DC area. Like I haven't traveled but it's just fun watching it all come together and seeing the behind the scenes and all the work that goes into it.
Yeah,
I suggest it to anybody, at least do it once. It's not that difficult you just send them some pictures, and at least it hasn't been for me. So
you got the look, I guess.
Yeah, usually of a reporter or a military guy. Yep. I'm kind of like casted in.
Well, I see your medals back there. So you.
Yeah, I was in the military and did a little time in Iraq. Yep.
Nice. I'll ask you a little bit about your professional life. What have you done, to make a living?
So I was most of my career was with the Pentagon, intelligence, till I retired a few years ago. So I got to see the world too. I was in the military, so I've had a pretty successful, really good career.
So what was it that kind of led you to find Lindamood-Bell?
I was in law school, and right at the same time, I came down with COVID long haulers syndrome, and I was having a hard time memorizing everything, and it was just horrible. And then I kind of was doing some self-reflection, and I always had an idea I was dyslexic because I always had a hard time spelling words correctly, and sometimes I would read over words. And then the other thing I've been researching a little bit to find schools that will take adults, because most of them are, K through 12. And Lindamood-Bell said yes. And then they tailored my classes, my training, everything specifically to me, to law school, to an adult learner, to, somebody that's in their 50s. I mean, it's just been an amazing process. And Nedra, who runs the place, she would even have the instructors have me read my contract law. So it's just been, and in fact, as a gift, they know I'm an actor. They bought me this book. I don't know if you'd say it's The Actor's Life, a survival guide. So nice. They're just, if I give 10 stars to your school, I would, because the people are just, the instructors are just so professional, amazing.
You started law school in retirement?
Yeah, I know. I know.
And if it's one thing Washington, D.C. needs, it's another attorney.
I know. No, I just always loved the law. And, I just feel like when you're retired, you better keep your brain going, or, keep going, because otherwise, what are you going to do? Fish all day long? There's only, so I've just always been, love to engage myself and learn and try to better myself. So I looked at law school as that. And then I was also volunteering as a translator. I'm fluent in Spanish for legal services. So I was learning Spanish legal words at the same time. So I haven't fully retired, as they say.
That's interesting. I was in Sydney, Australia about 4 years ago, visiting the Lindamood-Bell Center there, and they'd set up a bunch of people for me to interview. And there was one adult who was in his early 40s who was also his law school. He was entering law school kind of late, and that prompted him to seek our help as well. So,
wow, what a coincidence! But
yeah,
it was mostly that law school, and also I just always had kind of an inkling that I was dyslexic. Supposing my grandmother was dyslexic, and then I had an aunt who was dyslexic, and I wasn't quite sure if I was, because I always seemed to do okay in school, but it was mostly, and work is mostly my memory that I counted on, just memorizing things, and that's what got me through. But then the COVID long haulers just about destroyed me. I mean, I was in the hospital, twice for 4 or 5 days. I had the cough for 6 to 8 months. Went through a bunch of IVs, had memory gaps. It was just horrible. So I thought, okay, Tony, that one tool you had, your memory, is you're having problems with right now. Let's see if you can, overcome dyslexia. And I'll tell you what, the school was just amazing, because now I'm so much more confident when I read material. I think it even helped me cognitively to get my memory back, because I was going to your school 5 days a week, 4 hours a day, intense reading and working on the Lindamood-Bell tools.
what was that like the first time you went there and took that battery of tests?
They're so kind. They didn't charge me because I'm a veteran for the consultation and anything like that, which was beyond kind. And that's when I realized, after the consultation, they gave me fantastic feedback on what my weaknesses were, the areas that I could improve, and also how I could overcome dyslexia. And their tools were just, it's really tough to describe all of it, because there's like a 3 or 4 prong approach to it. And I just, my only, you shouldn't have regrets. Wish I would have, could have, should have, but my gosh, I wish I would have found you guys 20, 30 years ago. My life would have been a lot easier, because I'm reading so much easier now.
And it varies. I always ask people this, but it's because it varies so much across the country. How do you define dyslexia?
For me, it's when you're reading paragraphs and this is personally what happens, I'll miss words and I'll kind of get the gist, but then I'll have to go back and read it. And then the other frustration was, when I'm handwriting, I notice I misspell words. But of course, today with all the software, if you're on the computer, you don't even have to learn how to spell. It's amazing. You have all that software that does the spelling for you. Basically, you could be almost an illiterate, and it'll write pages for you. So I think it's also retention, because before I just would reread stuff over and over. It was so exhausting. But I guess my rereading would stick in my brain, and that's why I thought I had such great memory. Now I can just read through. When I was finished with the 2-month course, I was reading 2 pages and almost like a photographic memory, providing them dates, names, everything that had been in the text. And it shocked me and shocked them. They're like, wow, Tony, you grabbed more information than I could grab. So tells you it's a great program.
So
I
you worked
recommend it
with,
to everybody.
yeah. So you worked with the visualizing and verbalizing program, is that right?
Yes.
And how would you describe that to somebody who
Like,
doesn't know it?
so they teach you, it's almost like they teach you how to read while a movie's playing. So you create a movie in your head. You're not just, and believe me, contract law is, no offense to contract law attorneys, it is not exciting material. But the way your program works, it actually brought the words up in your face, and you could actually, I don't know, they just seem more, you could visualize them, and that, and anything that you're reading and you don't comprehend, you'll stop there and you'll try to figure it out before you move on. You don't just passively read. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah. I was just thinking about the, legalese and how that really must be challenging because, there's a style of having certain phrases that repeat and they're very abstract and, that's going to be taking a lot of work more than, do you have your felts out when in your structure words when you go through your contracts?
Yes. But actually for me, it was just the felts were a great tool, like the beginning and all that. But once I got the concept of making the movie in my head as I'm reading and reading it out loud, everything changed. It just it all started making sense. Believe it or not, it just didn't seem like a bunch of abstract words that I'll never use unless I'm, buying a house or buying a car and I'm reading the fine print. And everybody's gone through that. And even when I sign a contract for acting, there's like the non-disclosure agreement, which is usually about 3 pages, and nobody really reads that. But now I catch myself after going through your school reading it from top to bottom.
That's what I wonder if you noticed any application to your avocation of acting.
I think the preparation, because you have to, they send you all this stuff to be prepared. And I don't have to reread. I can read through this stuff one time and then I know what to wear, what time to show up. There's so much minutia and that's involved in a movie for anybody, even if you're an extra or whatever, of your getting prepared. So you have to make sure you read all the way through, or you cause problems for people on set. You slow everybody down and they get, you're not really that popular.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, after going to your school, I could just read the sheets they sent me one time and not have to go back and, okay, did I get that correctly? And so, yeah.
Yeah. So it's not just the lines, it's like the blocking and the physicality and preparation and a lot more.
Yeah. And nowadays, you have to go certain place for a COVID test, certain times. I mean, there's a lot. And then, you have to read all this stuff through. Do not mention anything about, what you're in, because you signed a non-disclosure agreement. And it's just, it just removed the stress. It's sort of, they got a legal term that says, so you guys have taken the bricks out of my suitcase or my briefcase. They say, reading is not like it used to be. Even information that I love reading it was just always so exhausting. I would do it because I'm hard-headed and a hard worker, but reading is fun now.
Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah. Nedra, tailored it just for me. It was amazing. I felt like I was the only student in that whole school, that they were all just, and it's not true. They have a lot of students there that they take care of everything from, K through 12. And I could see they tailor for them too, but every minute I was there, I felt it was like, this is just for Tony and Tony's dyslexia. And how can we improve his reading comprehension? What tools can we give him? And you have my highest recommendation that anybody that has dyslexia should just go to one of your centers, because it's just, you have fantastic people.
That's good to hear. I know they work very hard in finding the right people and doing a lot of professional development always.
I didn't feel like they were, here's the manual, blah, we're doing it like this. I felt like they actually put a lot of time, Nedra did, the director, into, okay, based off Tony's results from the initial test and consultation, how can I tailor his training, his classes, just for him to improve him? Because every week things would get tougher, but then actually easier because I was using the tools at school. Once you guys provide your method, your teaching method, all your theories. And after 2 weeks, it's like the bulb went off in my head and I go, I get this. And it just, I started to enjoy it. And I miss them. They were just a pleasure to work with.
And maybe could you explain the kind of the specifics of it? It's very interactive and what you're doing in a session. You said you're there 4 hours a day, 5 days a week.
Right.
What is it? You're sitting with somebody and they're talking with you. Can you kind of explain that?
So you have a different instructor for each hour. And then you have the materials. It's so abstract, it's kind of tough to describe, but the little felt squares. And then they have you read out loud, and then you'll stop, and then they'll ask you, how much of this did you retain? And then they keep pushing that. Try to visualize what you've just read. And I had never heard of that theory of visualize what I'm reading. I'm used to visualizing a movie and stuff. So the closest, easiest that I could describe it as is they're continuously having me make a movie in my head. And then the other thing I found out about myself because of your program is that when I read out loud, I absorbed more material and I wasn't as dyslexic. I didn't miss words. Whereas if I quietly read. And then the other thing is, if I said a word out loud as I was writing it, I was less likely to misspell it too. So that's because of you guys. I know I can't figure out my brain, but who can? I mean,
maybe you're getting some sort of feedback like orally too.
Yeah. It's like when I'm quietly looking at it, I would misspell, simple words, but when I said out loud, and that alone was worth just to discover that about myself, and I think I just, like everybody else, you just memorize how to spell stuff, back in the old days. They didn't use phonetics and all that good stuff. What I do now when I'm reading is I read out loud, and it goes into the movie in my head. And I guess I'm not being very technical about your process, but because that was your original question is.
Well, you probably heard that one question we ask a million times. What does that make you picture?
Right. That's what exactly. What do you picture? And then I guess with me, because I'm a part-time actor, they kept using "make the movie in your head." It's like, that's what I mean. They made it fun, because 4 hours is pretty grueling, especially when you're older like myself. I mean, that's a long day of continuous reading. But they found any mistakes in how I was reading, pronunciation, stuff like that. I mean, it was all the stuff that you kind of blew over, ignored when you're in school, and just it all seemed like wham wham.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was pretty amazing.
Well, what would you say to another adult that was struggling?
I would say go take the test at your institute immediately, get the consultation, and just grind it out, because everybody's so busy nowadays. But if you really want to have less stress in your life, improve yourself, there's no cure for dyslexia, but this is a dang good tool that fantastic tool. The tools you provide to just, like I said, take the bricks out of the briefcase. It's no longer, I'm not going, oh my God, I got to read this, pages of it, blah, blah. The words come to life. It's incredible. I still, coming from an Intel background, I got to say, you're just born skeptic. You think everything is like, yeah, prove it to me. And your organization proved it to me. Lindamood-Bell proved to me that your tools work. So I think anybody that has dyslexia, whether they're adult or a kid, they should go to your school. It's just a fantastic program. Because why not? Why make life so stressful? Life is stressful enough as it is. Why not, make it easier on yourself? I was the biggest skeptic, believe it or not. I'm like, they're not going to be able to help me. I mean, that's just years of being Intel. You always like, yeah, prove it to me. But your system works. I don't know how much clearer I could say it. It's a fantastic system. And they go at your pace. And it was the best 2 months and best monetary investment I've made in my entire education.
That's nice of you to say, but you put the effort in too, and that's very commendable on your part.
Well, yeah, thank you. But they make you look forward to coming to class, because they change up what you're reading, what you're doing, the different tools. So it wasn't the same thing day after day after day. So I actually look forward. Like I said, I miss those guys. They're just, and I keep in touch, and they ask me how I'm doing, and they just were so supportive, not only with instruction, but just overall, just a fantastic group. You got a fantastic group in DC.
That's good to know. I'll pass that along, believe me.
And she really tailored, my studies, my training, everything. I just felt it was specific to me. And I could tell they were doing the same thing with the other students that were there. It wasn't just me. We all felt like we were the only person in that school. It's pretty amazing. This is a fantastic adventure that I went on at this late age. And so thank you. I just recommend it to anybody, any age, that thinks they might have dyslexia or whatever reading issues, because your program works. And I gotta be honest with you, I probably would have been one of your harshest critics, because coming from 25 years of Intel, you're always like, prove it. Because if you don't, you get burned. At least that's what it was in my career field. You always had to defend everything that you said. You couldn't just come up with theory. So it has amazing practical applications. And I kind of wish they put it in all the school systems across the country. This would be amazing. Thank you so much for, number one, taking time to interview me. And like I said, you got a fan right here of Lindamood-Bell for life.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Sorry, you too.
And thank you for listening. Learn more about us at lindamood-bell.com. You can also find us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We are Lindamood-Bell.